Tito Jackson of the legendary Jackson 5. It's definitely an honor to speak to you right now.
Nice to speak to you too. Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, before we get into anything else, you have a new album and a new song. The new album is called Tito Time.
Yes.
Okay, and the song is called Get It Baby.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, how did you get Big Daddy Kane on the song? What's the whole story behind that?
Producer knew the manager, see. I didn't personally know Big Daddy Kane, but my producer knew the manager. He sent the song over to the management, of course, asking if Big Daddy Kane do a feature. Sent it over to Big Daddy Kane. Big Daddy Kane called his manager and my producer back and said, is this a production of Tito's or one of his artists, or what is this? What do Tito have to do with this? And he said, well, this is Tito's new record. You know, it's coming out. Really? Is it him singing on it too? He said, yeah, it's Tito. And so anyway, he said, get Tito on the phone. They called me up. Big Daddy Kane says to me, hey man, tell me something. This song you sent over here, is this you? I said, yes, it's my new record that's gonna be coming out. You know, I did a whole album, Big Daddy. He said, man, this is a bad song. I'm gonna hook it up, man. Don't worry, I'm gonna really hook this one up. He hooked me up, man. He really did a great job.
Oh yeah, it's great to hear Big Daddy Kane again. You know, I've definitely been a fan from the beginning.
Yes, thank you, man. Thank you.
Now, there's a line on this song, okay, and I just want to know what your take on it is. Big Daddy Kane said, "You not just an around the way thought." Do you know what a thought is?
I don't know what a dot is. I know what a dot means.
T-H-O-T, thought.
Thought.
Thought. I'm asking because it's on your song. It's a line on your song. He said, "You're not just an around the way thought."
Thought. Just a thought that just go away, you know, something that you think.
Nope, it stands for that hoe over there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
It's on your song, so I figured you should know. You should be educated with what's on your music.
Hey, you're the first to tell me. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah, thought. That's kind of like the new term for hoe, or just a girl that's running around sleeping with everybody. A thought.
I didn't know that.
Okay. How do you feel now that you know?
Well, it's there. There's nothing I can do about it now.
Okay. So you dropped your first solo album at 62. Why did you decide to wait this long?
Just life. You know, I got married at 18, and I was doing an album prior to that, and my father moved us, away from Motown to Epic, and that whole thing. I had babies. And I thought, why chase a solo career? I'm busy as heck with the Jackson 5. Plus, I've got to be a father, raise these 3 boys I'm having, and be a husband too. And a Tito Jackson career, on top of that, just wouldn't allow me the time. So I chose to be a father and do all the things fathers do. And I said to myself, I will always have time to do a career. And, now it's Tito time. I got the time now.
I think it's great that, the work that you did as a young man allowed you financially to have the time to raise your children.
Absolutely. Did it when the time was necessary and did what was necessary.
Originally, before the Jackson 5, it was like the Jackson 3. It was you, Jermaine, and Jackie.
That's correct.
Okay, now how did you guys, why did you guys decide to form this musical group initially?
Well, our TV had broken down, and we used to sing a lot of country western with my mother because she loved that music, and we harmonized with her, and my father played guitar and with his brother. Every weekend they play, and I sit there and just stare and stare and stare, and he knew we loved that guitar, and so he used to say before he went to work, he put it away in the closet in the case and tell us, sit us on the couch and point his finger, don't you touch my guitar when I'm at work. So of course, children, that means you can touch my guitar while I'm at work. That's what I heard, So I was playing this guitar for many, many, many months, and my mother would let me play it. She knew I wasn't supposed to play it, but she thought I was making progress and whatever. So one day I broke the string, and I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't know how to change the string. I didn't know what string I broke or whatever. Couldn't even buy one. He came home, saw the string broke, and was really upset about it, man. He took care of my ass, and then he sat me down and put the guitar in my lap and said, "Show me what you know." So here I am playing this guitar and crying. You know, I'm about like 7, 8 years old. And he looked at me and said, "Dang, you playing just as good as me." So he gave it to me. He gave me the guitar right there on the spot, and bought himself another guitar, a better one, of course. But I still have that original guitar.
Wow.
Yeah, so he said, he gave me the guitar. He said, "I want you to learn every song on the radio." So that's what I started doing, and I was learning songs by the Isley Brothers, Temptations, Ford, whatever, and then Jackie and Jermaine, and then we were harmonizing, and Michael and Marlon were just little bitty things, you know. They were somewhere around 2, 3, 4 years old, playing with little cars, you know what little boys do, and we'd kick them out the room and that whole thing. Then one day, like a year or two later, we hear Michael singing a little thing in kindergarten, singing "Climb Every Mountain" in the school performance, and he tore it up, man. We couldn't believe, our mouths flew open, couldn't believe that was our brother up there singing. We rush him home, tell him he's in the group. Mom said, "Me too?" I said, "Yeah, you too, come on." So that's how the Jackson brothers were formed. We did a wedding, and the lady said to us, "What is your name?" And we said, "Well, we really don't have a name. We're going by Jackson Brothers because we're brothers." She said, "No, no, no, you should use Jackson 5 because there's 5 of you." And it stuck. So we called ourselves the Jackson 5.
Now, when you watch the TV movie about the Jacksons, and you had mentioned earlier in this interview that like when your dad caught you with the guitar, he gave you a whooping. You know, your dad was portrayed as kind of a mean father and a disciplinarian. Like how accurate was that from your point of view?
Well, the movie was accurate in a lot of, they dramatized it to keep the audience, you know what television does. But my father, he was tough, but that's what fathers did back then, you know, and I'm glad he was tough on me because I tell you, man, all my friends in Gary that's my age are either in prison or a lot of them are dead. Just did the wrong thing. My father knew that. He wanted his boys out of Indiana, so he did what was necessary. We don't look at it as being tough. We look at it as doing what was necessary, doing the right thing.
Well, you know, like these days, you're not even really allowed to whoop your kids like that. You could actually get arrested.
Well, you know what? These days, that's why kids are walking around shooting and killing and stealing and beating the hell, snatching purses and doing everything else they shouldn't be doing because there's no discipline. That's the way I see it. You know, back then, your neighbor was able to take care of you. Your teacher would take care of you. One person do something wrong in the PE class, the coach say, "Okay, he lined up the whole class." You know, so it was like that back then, and we didn't have the crimes as much as we have today. And so we have to look at that and say, what's wrong with our parenting? What's wrong with our children today? What can we do to make it better? Maybe the answer isn't like that type of punishment, but there's got to be another way that we can make this a better society for our future, because the children are the future.
Absolutely. Your son ended up adopting Michael Jackson's kids.
Yes.
And that was because I heard that Michael Jackson's mom chose your son because your son was married at the time and had a stable family life?
Well, my son is very stable, more than most kids his age. He's very bright and he loves children. He spends a lot of time with his kids as well. And it's just a perfect arrangement for Michael's kids. My mom also told me that if I was married, she would have chose me, but she wanted them to be around a family, married type of environment, which is understandable.
Now, your son, TJ, dated Kim Kardashian in high school.
Yes, they were high school lovers, puppy love, or however you brand it. They were quite young. I think they were something like, he dated her from 14 to 18.
Now, your middle son dated Kourtney Kardashian.
Yes, he dated Kourtney about the same length of time, but it was later, not at the same time when TJ dated Kim. But Terrell dated Kourtney as little as maybe 7, 8 years ago.
Okay, so you and the Kardashian family are pretty interrelated in that regard.
Yeah, we know the family well. We've shared a lot of times together and events. If we had events, of course, they were invited, vice versa. And they're very nice people. It's a nice family. Calabasas is a very small community, and a lot of people live there and has lived there, from your Britney Spears to some of your top athletes. But it's a small community.
Yeah, I actually live in Calabasas. I'm speaking to you from
okay.
Calabasas right now.
Well, you know. Okay.
I already know. Now, I guess the Kardashians would babysit TJ's kids or something like that?
Yeah, they would, like, they're friends. And that's, California love relationships, just because people don't break up or they're not in this loving relationship, they still remain friends, and so they share a lot of times together. They go to movies or picnics with the kids. They go to each other kids' birthday parties and that whole thing, because they all grew up together.
So your kids could have ended up as Scott Disick and Kanye West.
Very much so. But my boys wanted to do their music, and I guess they concentrated on the music than the love.
Sure. How do you feel about the Kardashian success these days?
Oh, I think it's tremendous. I think they have done a tremendous job. And for that family to still be going strong today, it's just a great thing to see that it can be accomplished. And I take my hat off to them.
Now, the Jackson 5 had always changed members, because right now there is no Jackson 5 because there is no Michael. But what was the lineup over the years in terms of the other Jackson brothers?
Well, we got Randy, who is my youngest brother, who basically came into the group. I can't recall the year, but it's somewhere in the early 70s. And he's very, very effective in the group. And we got Marlon, which is a year or two older than Michael. And of course, Jermaine and Jackie and myself.
Sure. Now your sister Janet is about to have a baby.
Yes.
Are you at all concerned, being that she's 50 years old and having a baby, with some of the danger associated with it?
I don't know anything about that. I stay away from that.
Okay. Are you excited to be an uncle?
Always, yes. Yes, always.
Absolutely. Now, your brother Jermaine and Randy both married Alejandra at one point. Like, how did that affect the family and the dynamics with the brothers?
Randy was never married to Alejandra.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he was never married, just Jermaine.
Okay, yes. But they both had children with
Randy had a few, and Jermaine was married to Alejandra.
Okay. How did that really affect the family, the dynamics? Did it really create a lot of tension?
I don't know. I don't get involved in that stuff, believe it or not. I'm sort of a loner. I stay in my corner in Calabasas. I go down to the Commons and go to King's and have my seafood soup, and I'm happy, man. I work on my Volkswagens and that whole thing, and I just keep it like that. Whatever my brothers do with their personal life is their life. Whatever I do with mine is mine. That's the way I always roll, and it's good for me.
Now, one of the things that really stuck with me during the funeral, when Berry Gordy said, Michael Jackson, they called him the king of pop, but really his title is the greatest entertainer that ever lived. And then the crowd just exploded at that point. At what point did you know that your little brother, your little kid brother, was going to be the greatest entertainer that ever lived?
I knew that before Motown, because what he represented in front of me was just phenomenal. I've never seen anything like it. It was like the way he sung and danced and moved. It wasn't just Michael, but Marlon was a great dancer, and so was the other brothers, but Michael had that special talent of it all. He can sing, he can dance, he knew melody. He can take a song that you write and then sing it and just knock it out the park. Add elements to it that you never thought of it or never would imagine. What we used to say, he knew how to bring a song home. He really knew how to bring a song home.
What was it like going from a poor black kid in Indiana? And the reason why I mentioned the race is because during that time there was a lot of racism, you know, especially in that area, to suddenly getting a record deal with Motown and having 4 charting singles, one after the other, like the transition from this poor life, you know, crammed into, I think, a three-room house, into suddenly being superstars like this.
Well, I tell you, in Indiana, we dreamed a lot. You know, we wanted to be stars. I remember we used to look at the cloud formation out of our back bedroom window and imagine that those were mountains and we're in California and things like that. And so when we moved from Indiana to California, we were so fascinated, and we were young. You know, I think I was something like 13, 14 years old, and Michael must have been around 8 or 9 years old. And we were so fascinated with palm trees and mountains that, you know, we didn't think about whatever. You know, you're a child. You don't measure money or things of that nature. You know, you just, as long as you can buy your little candy or your popsicles and run around the city and have fun. And that's what we did. We used to go by different celebrities' houses and knock on their door and visit them, introduce ourselves, and you know, we're from Indiana, you know. So it was exciting, man. Moving to California was a dream come true, exciting, a whole new life, a whole new pickup. You know, Motown had rented this house for us and had a swimming pool. We've never really seen a swimming pool in Indiana, you know, so it was great.
What was it like, though, being on stage and having the music that you guys were creating have the type of impact, you know, from going from your bedroom and little talent shows to suddenly having all these little girls screaming your name and being on the charts?
It was very exciting. You know, it was scary as well. I remember that we used to go on to shows and we'll barely get through the first number, and we couldn't finish the show because of the girls and the excitement. We would pile into a Volkswagen Bug and basically do our escape from there. And we didn't really realize how much of an impact we had made on the music scene until we were older and was able to measure and read and really understand that. But when we were children, we were just doing what we had to do, making music, doing what we loved. And traveling and seeing the world was very exciting. You know, things that you read about in textbooks in school, you actually got to go there to these wonders of the world and go to Asia or China or wherever in the world, Europe. And we'd come home and share our events with the classroom and that whole thing, and it was just great.
How much racism did you really experience during that time?
There was racism around. It was very, I don't want to say very subtle, but it was subtle. Like we realized that when we went to certain cities, the rooms that they gave us were usually near the dumpsters or the worst rooms in the hotel and things like that, or we don't have reservations for you, or all that. I remember one time we went into an antique store and my brother was chased out, you know. He would take something and just look at it. The man say, "Put it down, don't touch nothing, da-da." I mean, so it was bad, you know, at times, but overall, it was great. Everyone isn't like that, you know. You have your 1 or 2 people out of hundreds, you know, and they just haven't learned yet.
When Michael announced that he's gonna go solo, like, what did you personally feel? Like, how did you personally get affected by such, you know, huge news like that?
Well, that going solo thing is something that started back in the Motown days because Michael's first solo record, which was "Got to Be There," was a Jackson 5 original record that wasn't presented on the album. So I guess Motown decided to do a solo release with that one. Then after that album, Jermaine did a solo album, and then Jackie did a solo album. I was doing the solo album, like I told you earlier in the interview, and I was cast away, but because of the move from Motown to Epic. But it's something that we grew up with. We always looked at our career as a group and as well as a solo. Even that, right before Michael passed away, he would have had told you that he's still a Jackson. He's still in the Jackson 5 or the Jacksons. He's just doing his solo music right now, which Jermaine does. Jackie's had a solo, my sisters. Every brother and sister has had a solo record. So I'm the only one that's never done that. It's Tito time. And one of the reasons that I decided to do it, I started not to do it because, you know, the Jackson 5 has done a lot of work, and I've done a lot of things that's good. So, but then there's certain people, there was a survey in the internet, will Tito ever do a solo record? And it was sort of going even. And then there was sort of jokes being made, and how come Tito doesn't do this, or he's the one that's standing in the corner and don't say much and just play his guitar or whatever. And there was a comment by Mr. Charles Barkley that really pushed my button, and I said, you know what, I have this music over here that I'm just holding. I should just go on and finish this thing and put it out and see what it does. So I decided to do that, and maybe I won't be so much of a joke anymore, I hope.
Well, what was your reaction when, and I'm sure you've seen this, when you saw Rush Hour and it was Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan and he said, I'm Michael, you're Tito. Remember that?
Yeah, that came from an Eddie Murphy joke, I believe. And
okay.
Tito, give me the tissue in his stand-up. And but you know, I think people use my name a lot because it's different. First of all, you know, it's a different name, and my personality in the group was more settled. I didn't say too much. People feel sometimes that I'm hard, but I'm not hard. I'm probably a cream puff compared to some of the other brothers in my family. So I look at myself as whatever you guys want to do, count me in. I'm on a team. So whatever, wherever, whenever, I'm ready.
Yep. You know, one of the big debates that we have on VladTV with a bunch of the guests is Michael Jackson's greatest album, Off the Wall or Thriller. I've said Thriller, other guests have said Off the Wall. If you were to say Michael Jackson's greatest album, what would it be?
Thriller. Thriller. Thriller was his greatest album.
I totally agree. But I guess Quincy Jones actually said Off the Wall.
I don't know why. My vote goes to Thriller.
Well, why would you say Thriller over Off the Wall?
Well, I just like the whole production of the album. I like the video content and just the way it was presented. And it was just and it was a bigger sell. So that says it right there.
I remember there was an interview with Michael a while ago, and they asked him if he thought that Thriller was going to be as big as it got, and he said, honestly, yes, he did, because just sonically what it was. When you first heard Thriller, did you think it was going to be as big as it got?
Well, you know, no one ever heard of records selling those numbers that he sold. You know, if you sold 5, and most I think was around 10 or whatever, you were like goddess, you know, and for him to pop up with 40 to 50 million sales, it's like, wow, what's going on? This is popcorn going, you know, sales. It's crazy, meaning a lot of sales. It's just tremendous, man. You know, every artist would love to do that. You know, that's a dream, and that's the record, that every artist's goal is to try to reach. You know, I don't know if it can be done in our lifetime, but it's there to be beat, and it can be done.
Yeah, no, Thriller was I would say one of the only perfect albums ever created. Just perfect from beginning to end.
Well, it's very exciting. The storylines are great. It's visual. You know, the music is just fabulous, and he performed it well as well.
Right. You were there when he did that famous moonwalk. That was the Motown anniversary. Like,
yes.
what went through your mind when you saw that?
We were very excited because we had all the brothers on stage at one time, and that was very exciting for us to be back on stage as a group. And we knew Michael was going to sing these songs from his solo release, and he had a special performance with it. So we all backstage in the green room watching the monitors, and along with other entertainers, of course. And when he did it, it's just, the room just went crazy. I mean, that was their first time seeing it. We have seen the moonwalk ever since we were little, you know, and that was their first time seeing it. And they just gravitated toward it and loved it. It was like one of the greatest performances. So it was good. It was good.
Wait, so Michael had been doing the moonwalk at home already?
Yeah, he had been doing the moonwalk for a little while as a little boy. It was something that we used to do. Marlon used to do it as well. And it was just a funny thing that we used to do. We never thought about putting it in the show or using it the way he used it. You know, so Michael was that type of person. He could take an idea and make it his own, you know, make it, present it in a fashion that you could never imagine. And that's what made him a little different, I think.
No, absolutely. When you first heard about the news of Michael passing, what went through your head?
It was the worst feeling I've ever experienced in my life. You know, I've had other relatives who had passed away, but they weren't my close siblings. You know, they were like cousins or whatever, or friends. But when my brother passed away, it just seemed like my whole inner self just melted. I was actually, I was at home building the studio that this album was recorded on. And my son called me and he said, Dad, is it true what they're saying on the news about Uncle Michael? I said, what they saying, son? He said they just rushed him to the hospital under cardiac arrest. And I said to him, I said, I don't know, let me find out. And so I immediately called my mom and to find out, turned on the news and saw what was going on. And I couldn't get her. So then I get a call back from my cousin, which is her chaperone. And he said, your mother would like for you guys to come to the hospital right then, right now. So of course, you know, I'm all drenched in carpenter clothes or whatever, so I'm looking like a bomb. So I take 5 minutes to dress myself, go to the gas station because I got to go to LA. And on my way there, my sister Janet calls me and she says, Tito, are you driving? And right then I knew that she was gonna like give me some really, really bad information. And that's when I found out that my brother had passed away. And it was the saddest day of my life still.
Do you feel any sort of anger towards the doctor that was working with Michael at the time who I guess prescribed him all that stuff?
Well, I've always been taught, especially through my mom, to forgive. You don't have to forget, but you should forgive people because people sometimes don't do things purposely. But I do fault him for not paying attention. He's a doctor and he knows what he did and whatever he was administering. To my brother, he should have been there watching and monitoring as a doctor and not on the phone with his girl.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that Berry Gordy said during the funeral was that Michael accomplished everything he ever dreamed of. Would you agree?
No. No, because Michael was the type of person, he was a visionary, and Michael saw a brighter star. he saw a brighter star, and he's always imagining bigger and bigger and bigger. So I can imagine him thinking that way. Maybe Mr. Gordy felt that, but the thoughts of Michael Jackson, the scale has no limit. So.
Well, I mean, at the time of his passing, Michael Jackson was the most famous person on the planet.
Yes, yes. And he's still pretty much the same thing today. Everywhere I travel in the world, you know, I see his memorabilia or records or fan base or whatever is just totally there, you know, and even his spirits travel with us when we're on stage. We can feel his presence on stage. We can imagine what he would be doing at that time, and we get energy from that.